Kublai ya pi baro kajing pendi dawai polio yang kena ki bahapo san snem karta ya ka jala megalia jongi kalong haka arpu sau terik jong ubnai January mentau snem hajar arpu ar tila karpat ki kibi pa baro bagedwan ra ki khun ki jong ki bahapo san snem karta haki jaka ai dawai kenang bagi khun jong pi kin yo alat bandi yau nu dawai polio uni dawai polio ni ai man lau snem hau nu benahi but mentau snem ru ngilap dap ban pen kre ka jing ai jongi hakeleng kita ki jaka ne ki bus ban pen kre daka sarkar jala jong health department dia balai ka singalong ka badan kam kalong ba ngiyo i ba unu polio virus ulong ta virus wanra ya kata ka jingpang ka bangi khat ka polio myelitis bat kene ka jingpang kalong ka bashar khai hadu kata kata balada ki khanna apa sansnam ki yo kene ka jingpang bat ki yo kilong ki ba yap ki yo kata ka jingpang yap siliang bat ya kene ka jingpang ngimla syu ban ai jing sumar lemda bat ringila ban yadai ka tang daw niu polio vaccine bat unu polio drop bangi ai gi khanna tang menta ka singi henrengi ai ya ki khanna ki ba dangkha sisien bat ngi ai ru hadak ndak adap shi bana shi teng dan ru tayo utaw di first dose ngi ai ru second dose ndak adap ar bana shi teng bat lai berai siteng third dose but ngi deban kan mau ba balai ngi deban ayu nu dawai kalong kumbang ong bang ngi deban ya dai kena nak kata jingpang poliomyelitis but kalong ka bas ngotenat ban ong ba hado menta habangi ay kan ka dawai man la usnem ngi yo iba ka jingwan ya lam jong ki brio ki khun jong ki kalong ka bajab namar ngi la ban ko ba hado khandai 4% but don liki district ki ba 6% ngi la ban ayu nu dawai Handrai ka ipat ka bas ngosi ka long ba habangi phai pat shaki wei pat kijing IT ka i khalong ki ba hapo ka sisnam kham tam e menta ka jala jongi ka long ka ba wan shapo ba namar ba ngi iba ki brio kim wan ra ki khun jongi shakman ban ngi deban singong tho balai kini ki wei pat ki tika lani ka routine immunization ka long badan kam hadu kata kata kani ka jing IT ka jongi daki pat ki dawai khana kumangi ai ya ki DPT ki measles na tapat dia ngi ai ya kini ki pentavalent nang tangi ai yo hoi polio ngi ai nang tangi ai BCG bat ki pat kitika bat kini ki long ki kam hadu kata kata ngi iba kini ki laban yadai ki kena nak ki jingpang ki bashar kai hadu kata kata badai ta ka jing a jongi ki ni jika ngi laban yadai ki kena nak ni ka jingpang bat ngi la roban penduna ya ka jing yap jongi khlong ki ba kham tang pa san sam karta henrai kum tang akar par ki brio ba ngi iba man tangi por balai ki duna gwan ra ki khun ke jogi ka daw ka long le si ka jing don jong ka khlam covid namar ki brio ki tieng le se ban wan se ki jaka ban IT ka ki khun jogi ki tieng ba yo ki ka jing pang bat kum ta ter ki pat ki down le se ki ka daw jong ka lockdown lan ki pat ki jing e henrenga karpat ya ki brio jong ka jalah ka por nga shem ka kabu ban khat ki brio baro ban kan mau ba ka jing IT ka ki khlong naduk bedang kha Kidan ki bakali hapok ki yang jong ki kim yo ya kata ka bird dose ka bangi ayu polio ngi ayu BCG ngi ayu hepatitis B kumta kalong ka ba bat kalong ka ba yang ngiru ada ngim yo ban ai bangin kot segi yang ki sem jong ki briun rei ngi le kat bala ki nong tre jong ki NM mo ki asha ki la pen pes ngotu ki brio ha ba ki khayi no ki ban yo ki ki tika but let's say ka wei ka daw balai ki ni ki bird dose kim yo ro kalong jing duna jong ki jingwan kha segi hospital tinggal kerpat ya ki brio ru bagi ladak long ka bala ban yele ban wan kha ban wan kha sigi ki hospital ne ki jaka mo ai jing sumar jong ka sarkar khnang ba ka jing IT ka ki khun jong ki ka long ka ba jam bat ngakerpat ru ba haba man laus nem man la ka por man la ka shibna shiteng bagi khun jong pi ki dap shibna shiteng bagi dap arbna shiteng lai bna shiteng bat kum bala batha ip da ki asha da ki NM bat ki nong tre jong ka khia balai pi de ban wan ai kan ka tika pi ban shakmat namar ba da pi ai ka long ka jing job am tangi ki mi ki pa bakin ya da ki khun jong ki pi de ban ai ka hok jong ki khun jong pi bakin yo ka ta tika khna bakin la ban ya da ki ki jing pang namar ba ba ki like na ki jing pang ki khna ki shat ki klang ka mat ka khia bat ki pro ru ka jabi yang ki jing perkhan tia kum ta ai ka lat ki khun jong pi la ni ai ka hok ki khun jong pi bakin yo ki tika ki babiang tinga kerpat pi baro ki mi pas ngob ha ban tur shakmat ban shakmat ban ai namar ba ngina kaliang jong ye le ban pen biang ye pi ka sarkar ko kwa kan ya ka jing ba jong pi baro kum ta nam tiang e kanu ki jing ki khubor ke pi ngau ba ki tika ki la ban kta ye pi kta tak gi kun jong pi dak ni gi yue pat gi jing pang rei kam dong ko pachisha rei wan chak mat da phiran kono kono ka jing bom singo thu pat gi don bor bor ki nong trei jong ka trat ka khia man ki jaka bakin pensyai pi
ka jingpang polio ka dei ka jingpang ka balas lembha ha ka ni ka perthei ka bakta khamtam ye ki khna ki ba hapo san snem karta kani ka jingpang polio kalong ka ba ma kata ka ba yalam syaka jingring deko jong ki khna bat kala ba ru ban yalam syaka jingyam kani ka jingpang polio kumnu ki yo ki khna ya kani ka jingpang dei lingba ka jinglek khendau jong ki ta ki badon ni uta ukhyang jingpang bat na kata ka jinglek khendau kala ban ya ban saphriang syakabam ka di lingba ki jhur lingba ka bat kinda bam ya ki jhur ki kina ki ba klamdan ni ka jingpang ki bam ya ka ya ki jhur lani ki di ya ka lani ki ktawat ya ka khendau ru kabala bit ya kini ki khyang jingpang bat ki bu khamtam ki khna mo ki shat malian bha ban bu ki kti hapo shentur jong ki te lada kini ki khyang jingpang ki rung hakamet jong ki lingba ka bam ka di lingba ka ni ka shentur te ka rung shaki snir jong ki bat ki la ban yo ya ka ni ka jingpang polio kani ka jingpang polio kala ban kta ya bun jat ki met ki phat ki jong ki kala ban kta ya ki ni ki snir kala ban kta ya ki khlai kala ban kta ya bun jat ki tor ki wei de te kaba kham ma ka jingta jong ni polio kadai yakini ka central nervous system ka bangi ong ha ka tien phareng mut ki thiet ki jaw ha ka ba ka ki khna ki la ban yo ya ka jingring de ko lani ka jing telot bor ha ka met ka jong ki la ban yo ka jing telot ha ki kti lani ha ki kijat bat ru ha ka hakini ki ka dur khmat ka jong ki mo ki la ban ring no shiliang ka khmat ka khmut ka jong ki bat ki wei de te kalong ka ba pen de ko no ya ka bor met jong kita ki khna na kata ka daw ka sarkar kala sedang ban ai ya kanika ya kini ki vaksin ka badai ya ka polio balengi hab ai da ka vaksin ka dei namar ba mdan kanu ka treatment lani kanu ka dawai ka ban penjam no ya kita ya kata ka jingpang polio dei tang da ka jingiada bangi ai lengba ka pulse polio vaksin ba ka ngila ban yo ya ka jingiada ya uni u knyang jingpang polio te kani ka polio vaksin ngila ai nadu mensyuan nadu kabalarung hapo ka routine immunization ka jongi nadu usnam khat khandai spa prapho bat ka ya hapo ka immunization program ka jongi henre inda ngilayo iba ka jingpang polio kala pendeko bat kala pen julor ya ka jingim jong ki khna ki babun te ka sarkar india kala shim kanika ka strategy ma bangin aya ka vaksin lengba ka pulse polio ka pulse polio mut kumno ba kumbayat ki thiet ki pulse ki bangi ong hakaju kapor ngin ai haka ri india barok ka wei hakaju kapor ngi ai kanika polio drops ki khanna ki ba hapo sansnem kata ka bamut ka pulse polio tingi ai nadu usnem khat khandai spa khandai fusan ngila sedang ya kanika pulse polio activity jongi bat ngilayo I baka trekam bha namarba ki khna ki bayo polio ki la nang duna bat kalong ka basutenat ba ha usnem ar hajar khatwei ngi yo ka kes ka ba khatdu ka bapang polio kadai kata kadai ka khna ka bakerteng ka ruksar khatun ka ba hapo West Bengal hapo Haura district te nadu kata ka snem ar hajar khatwei ngi klem yo shu uta ukes polio bat menta kala dap shipos nem bangi klem don shu kes polio bat ka WHO ru kala declare kala pen tip ba ka Southeast Asia region ka bangi don mangi ngila sha declare polio free ha usnem ar hajar khatlai tem lengba kani ka ki jingtre shitom jong ni bangin pen duot njat duot dengkong ya uni u kenyang jingpang polio ngi layu iba ngim don shu kita ki kes bat henrei ngi hap bet ban ya chakhamat ban le ya kanika pulse polio jongi ru bat kumju ru bat yaka routine immunization ni ayaka polio te ban penduk dengkong yakinika ya uknyang jingpang hoat ni hapo kanika kari jongi ngimdon shu uknyang jingpang henrei kiri kiba hajan jongi komka Pakistan bat ka Afghanistan kidang bon bha ki kes polio bat ni syap tieng ba yo kini ki kenyang jingpang ki lengba ki brieu ki bawan shani kin ra ya uta uknyang jingpang namar kide ki ri ki bajan bat ni tie ngi hap don kata ka Jingiada hapo ki kena ki jongi na kata kadau ngi hap ya bet ngi hap nang ai ni vaksin pulse vaksin polio lengba ka routine immunization ka bangi ai ki kena bat ki khalung ki jongi marsen kha ngi ai ka birth dose jong ni polio nang ta ngi ai ha nda ki ladap henriu tayau shipau tayau batru haka nda ki ladap khat sau tayau nang ta ngi ai ru ka booster dose nda ki ladap khan riu benai hadu arhu sau benai tie kani ka kadai hapo ka routine immunization henrei ngi don ru kini ki supplementary lani ki ngi khat ki national immunization days ki bang ngi khat ki pulse polio ka pulse polio na por bas dang hakini ki snem khat khandai spa khandai pusan shaneng ngi ai around kamut ngi ai ha u January bat u February henrei menta la lais na menta nginda layu i ba kala kham ya kila kham duna kikis batru namar bakadon kanika klam covid ngila penduna no kanika round bat ngila ya betang shi round menta tie na kata kadau ngikirpat ba lada kitu kidon ki kemi ki kpa kiba don ki kena ki ba hapo san snem bakin wan yalam ya ki kena jong ki ha uni afu south January namar bangi don tang shi round tik ka pulse polio ha ka ri jongi menta nalor ka ni ban penduk dengkong yu knyang nalor ka routine immunization nalor ka pulse polio ni don ru kataka bangi khot ki surveillance activity lani ki jing khmi jongi moyo dang don shu ni em kini ki knyang jingpang namar kata lada don manu ki khna ki ba hapo khatsan snem karta ki badon iba pen I ka jing telot hakamet ka jongki kila ban ring deko ka kti lani ka kejat lani ka nu ka met ka benta jong ka met ka phat ka jongki ngi shat shim ya ka taka jinglek khendo jongki bat ni shat test lada day ne em baki don knyang jingpang polio haki tie nalor ka taru ngi don ru ka taki surveillance ki ba jongka mariang mo lani bangi ong ka environmental surveillance kabangi shim ya ki sewage sample lani napo ki nala ki duit hapo khamtam hapo ki nongba ki bahe ngi shim bat ngi check lada don ne em ni khnyang lengba kata ki duit ki nala tie lengba kita ki surveillance lani ki jing khmi jongi ngi tip badon ne em uni khnyang jingpang bat ngi le pade kata ka bangi khot ka supplementary activity ngi ai dawai polio biang ha kitu ki jaka habang ngilap badon case jong uni pulse polio tie kalong ka bakmen ba haduk menta ngi klem lam kum kita ki case tie habang yo I ka jing job ka jongi ya uni khnyang polio ban ngilala ban control lani ban bu yo khnyang shadien jongi tie kalong ka ba ngokmen ban yu iba uni kini ka jing aitika jongi ladang yu iba hapo Meghalaya jongi haka pulse polio khnai 4% shaneng ki khna ngi yo ban ai man la usnem ban na kata kadau ngi yo ya ka jing job kumjuru nga nget ba kibriu kin sngotu ba ya kanika jingpang covid lan ka khlam covid ka bayat si telup ka pertaimenta ngila ban yo ka jing job lada ngi yo ya ka jing aitika ka ba balat ya ka khandai phau kum balong ya pulse polio ladang ishim ya ka jing sneng na pulse polio na ka jing ya polio aitika polio jongi ngin jenda yo ya ka jing job ru ya uni knyang covid bat ngila ban yo biang ka jing em ka bangi ju em men shwa te nangnu bat hangnu ngila ban ishim ya kenika tika polio Haka routine immunization jongi ngila ban le shem ya kini kitika polio hakinu kinu ki health center ki jongi ki bala bandai ki PHC ki CHC lani ki sub center ru bat kumju ru shaki district hospital ki badon haki district ki bapher nangta ki bala bane shaki private hospital ru ki la bane shem shaki private hospital but ki health worker ki jongi ki let ki outreach session ru shaki shnong ki thau ki babun but ki le ya kini ki baki ngi khot ki VHND lani ka village health and nutrition day ki bangi penlong man ubnai hakawai kawai ka shnong te lingba kita ki jaka ngila banyo ya kini ki tika polio hakapals polio pada ngidon ka ars ngi ki taki activity ki bangi khot haka sngi nengkong ngibu ki but hakaba hak manna ki dong hamanna ki shnong ngidon kini ki but hakiba ki don ki vaccinator ki jongi ki badai ki asha ki bala bandai ru ki nurses ki jongi ki la bandai ki volunteer jong ka shnong ru ki bala ban yarap ban aya kita ki tika polio te hakini lengba kini ki but ki bapher ngi aya ka pulse polio vaccine ndala dep kata ka but de ka banengkong ha ka sngi ka ba ar bat ka balai ki vaccinator jongi pat dia ki let man nak thiu yeng ban wat ki khana ki ba hapo san snam ba kin pet ba ki la dep ai ni em ka polio vaccine tiengi shat don kani ka dap hapo ka ketiret jong ki khana ngi shat bu lada ki la dep yo ne em ya ka polio vaccine tingi check nda ki la dep yo kin dala don dap mut ki la yo tingi ngi ai shu ya ki bat ngi let shaki wei pade ki yeng tie da kum ta ngi sngu thu bangin check bat bangin ai man la ki khana ki ba klem yo ya utau polio vaccine bangin ai ya ki ru tie kini ki rukom kumnu pe phila banyo ya ka polio vaccine haka routine immunization bat ru haka pulse polio ka jongi na kata kadau nga kentu ya phi bat nga kerpat ya phi sngoba wan ya lam ki khon ki jong phi ki pa hapo san snam bakin yo ya kanika tika polio mtang haka routine immunization henrei ru haka pulse polio kaba ki vaccinator ki jongi kinwan haki shnong ki jongphi haki boot batru haki yeng ki sem ki jongphi sungubha wat nam artatien wan shakhamat ban aya kiniki tika polio ba khnang ba ki khon ki ti ki jongphi kin lat na kanika khnang polio bat kinam yo ya kataka jingpang dekoa.
I will tell you about poliomyelitis as a disease, what impact it has had and is having currently. So you know that it is a incurable viral infection which is highly contagious. The fact about polio is that we have this phenomenon called the iceberg phenomenon, where when we have one paralyzed person in the community, usually it affects the children, at that time there are going to be hundreds or even thousands who are infected but may not display symptoms. Few of them will show symptoms like similar to the common cold or influenza, and they will have running nose, fever and a body ache, and those are non-specific. But the paralytic form of polio is the one which is crippling and it causes permanent paralysis. There is no cure. It affects the spinal cord and it kills the nerve root. So all the muscles supplied by that nerve, they shrink and they die, causing the loss of muscle mass. So that is how polio causes paralysis. Now, like other viral infection, polio is also very infectious, but it is slightly different from measles. In the case of measles, we have all the people who are infected will develop symptoms of fever and rash. So there is no subclinical measles case. So when measles comes into the area, it will infect everybody who has not been infected previously or has not been vaccinated. In the case of polio, there will be these subclinical infections, and so you will get many people infected, but only few of them will develop paralysis. Now these are part of the vaccine preventable diseases and they can only be prevented. There is no cure for these diseases. So vaccine preventable diseases, these are characterized by two important things, that number one, there is no cure or treatment which will heal the patient, and number two is that these diseases can kill. They are killer diseases. So that is the importance of vaccination in preventing these diseases so that we can save the lives. Now, polio is a very ancient malady. It has been recorded, more than 3,000 years ago in Egyptian mummies. They have found evidence of polio. And the disease currently is confined in our neighboring countries, Afghanistan and Pakistan. Although the numbers have come down heavily, but still the diseases are, paralyzing children. Polio is paralyzing children in Afghanistan and Pakistan. And it is important to remember that as long as there is a single polio case anywhere in the world, all children will continue to be at risk. The second important thing to know is that once we have vaccinated enough people, we can actually stop the disease. You know that in the history of mankind, we have eradicated smallpox. This is, as of date, the only disease to have been eradicated. So now, after we have eradicated smallpox, we have stopped using the vaccine against smallpox. Our goal for polio eradication is similar. Many times there is a doubt in the minds of the people about accepting the vaccines, because they do not know how the vaccines work. So although vaccines are very technical, but I will just very simply explain to you how the vaccines work. So vaccines are just inactivated or incapacitated forms of the virus or bacteria which are introduced into the body, and they produce an immune response. So there are some vaccines which can produce a significant amount of protection by just a single dose, and there are also vaccines which need to be given multiple times. So how do these vaccines work? Now, supposing you are alone at home at night and you hear a knock on your door. You open the door and you find a person who is a stranger, you don't know him, and he asks you for water. So as a good Samaritan, you will give water. So when you go to give water, you will take the water from the kitchen, which is kind of in the rear part of the house. Now when you come out with the water, you found that the person has disappeared. And then you notice that from your drawing room, your thin, small, new TV is missing, and you had kept your mobile, that is also missing. So you will understand that this person was not a thirsty stranger, it was a thief. Next time, if you are alone at night and you hear a knock, you will not open the door, because now you are trained that it could be a thief who can come and loot you. So that is what the vaccines do. Now, if the stranger who has come to your house, he is handcuffed, so he cannot steal your things. So when the virus or the bacteria, they enter your body, they cause you body harm, they can even produce death, they can cause death. But when we introduce the vaccine, the virus or the bacteria, then your body gets trained. The Sipahi in your system are trained and you are protected against the diseases. So that is why it is important to take the vaccine so that your body is trained on how to deal with this enemy, bacteria or virus, and you will be protected in future. So please remember that the thirsty stranger should not be allowed entry into your house. The risk ahead for us, you know that previously when we were doing this pulse polio campaign, where we give oral polio drops to children below 5 years of age and try to vaccinate all the children below 5 years of age within 2 to 3 days. At that time, the pulse polio program, we had 2 national immunization days where all the children across India, they were getting the polio drops, and then we also had sub-national immunization days. Now, with the absence of polio in India for more than 10 years, because now you know that the last polio case occurred in West Bengal on 13th of January 2011. So after that, we do not have any wild polio virus, and now for the last 3 years, we are having just 1 national immunization day and along with 2 sub-national immunization days. So when we are doing the pulse polio activity from 24th of January and conducting the booth, it is very, very important that all the children in Meghalaya, they come to the booth and they get their polio drops, because this is the only opportunity that they will be getting in 2022. So it is very important that all the people, they are aware of this and they don't miss this opportunity, which is coming just once in a year as of now. The risk is that if you miss the drops, you are left unprotected. And in the past also we have seen that it is the unvaccinated and the partially vaccinated children who are at risk of developing these vaccine preventable diseases. So once a child is totally immunized, he is protected. But if he is not fully immunized, then his protection remains partial and he is at risk to developing the infection. The similar thing we can also see in the case of COVID-19, where after the first dose, then we take the second dose, 3 to 4 weeks after the second dose, then we get adequate protection. So it will not prevent infection. So the vaccines will not protect you against infection, for which the COVID appropriate behavior like wearing of masks properly, good quality mask, not just a cloth mask. So a medical mask with a cloth mask or a N95 mask, washing of hands and avoiding crowds. So we should have this safe distance of at least 6 feet from each other, avoid crowded areas, avoid poorly ventilated areas, and always take the vaccines, because vaccines, as I mentioned before, they will protect you against diseases for which there is no cure, just like polio, just like COVID-19, just like measles, and these diseases can kill. So vaccines can actually protect you against serious disease and death. So I appeal to all the citizens to make the complete use of the coming Pulse Polio program and ensure that all under 5 children, they get their polio drops, and we can continue to keep Meghalaya polio free.